Alright, today we're going to do the Kwan. We're going to tie in our blue crab color today. We're going to start out with a Daiichi 2546 size 2. Start out with a little bit of blue thread. This is a 140 denier thread. Do like a lot of our flies. We're just going to start right behind the eyes and just do about 8 wraps back. I'm going to do those about 8 wraps back just to know that we get all of our eyes relatively in the same spot. So for eyes today, we're going to be using these medium brass eyes. You could go heavier and use lead, but we're going to use brass just because we want this one to be nice and light, kind of shallow water redfish. Just going to go ahead, get our eyes on there and secured, kind of X wrap on top of the eyes, and then get some helicopter wraps here below them. You can go lighter than this. You can go to some extra large B chain. I don't typically like to go that light. I think these brass eyes are a really good size if you're going to go light. And then if obviously you need to sink a little faster, you can go to either some small lead eyes or some medium lead eyes. So now we're just going to take our thread, work it to the back of the hook here. Get it worked down the bend. We're going to add an egg sac here on the bend like you've seen me do on a few other different patterns. We're going to use our orange medium Cactus chenille here. You can use orange, pink, red, whatever color combination you're doing, just something that'll stand out as like an egg sac. I mean, you could even use like a chartreuse. All we're going to do is get our Cactus chenille just tied in here at the back of the hook. Get it secured. Bring our thread forward and out of the way. And then we're just going to palmer this chenille right up the bend of the hook until the hook kind of straightens out for us. So, kind of fold a little bit of this back. All you're looking to do is just kind of make a little ball shape at the back of the fly, just to imitate, like I said, a little egg sac. Great thing about this fly, you can imitate either a crab or a shrimp with this pattern. So this color combination's obviously going to be more of a crab, but you can tie this in an all tan and make it look like a shrimp. You can tie it in some unnatural color like black and purple, if that's the kind of color you like to tie in. Let's get our chenille on there. Kind of wrap back on this head just a little bit. Don't worry if this is not the neatest back of the fly you've ever seen. All of this is mostly going to get covered up anyway. So the next thing we're going to do, we're just going to take some homemade eyes. These are some pretty big eyes that I made. I like throwing big eyes on my pattern. We're just going to get these extended just past our egg sac here and tie one on each side of the fly. Get them secured on there nice and tight. You don't have to make these giant eyes like I make. I just like them because they stick out. I think anything that sticks out to a fish and makes them notice the fly a little bit more helps, especially if you're throwing to redfish that are already feeding on shrimp. Make them pick out your shrimp over some other shrimp. Get this one kind of secured on there as well. As we can see, just behind the egg sac there. Now we're just going to come and wrap 3 or 4 wraps on the inside of each eye, just to kind of spread the eyes out a little bit. We don't want them sitting too close together. So you can see they're kind of spread out now. Just check, make sure they're even. Look to be even, so that's good. So next thing we're going to do is get our pseudo hair in tan. I've already gone ahead and cut it off the hide and kind of evened it out just to save a little time on the video. So all we're trying to do is just get all the butts kind of all the not the butts, the end points here lined up, just so it's even. Pull the underhair out of the butt section so you don't have any bulk. And at the end result should look a little something like that, just nice and even. You can make this as long as you want. I typically like to make it maybe 2 inches past the past that bend of the hook. We'll go ahead and cut our butts off right there. I'll just put it right on top of the hook. Tie over it. Get some nice tight wraps to tie this down. Don't worry about adding too many wraps here. Again, we're gonna cover all this up with the next material, so you're not ever gonna see any of this stuff sticking out. Just want to make sure it's nice and tight so it doesn't pull out on you. And come in here and just trim a little bit of this out. And what we can do is take a little bit of our Loctite liquid super glue. Just put it right on the thread wraps, right where the eyes are, and then right on top, right where you tied this in. That Loctite will soak down into the fibers, or not in the fibers, into the thread. Just make sure those eyes and that tail are secure in there, and not ever going to move anywhere on you. So next thing we're going to do, we're just going to take a marker. This one's a Copic marker, and I believe it's caramel. You could easily just take a Sharpie in brown or gold and do the same thing, even black. All we're going to do is just add some barring to it. On these tan patterns, I really like the way these brown colors look for bars rather than using black. I always think the black looks too dark and unnatural. We'll just go ahead, add some barring. Kind of give it that little shrimpy crab look, you know, just a little mix in the color just to just kind of add that little appearance of movement too, so when the fly is sitting still, it still looks like it's moving some, like a live shrimp or crab. So the next thing we're going to do, we're going to get our EP minnow head brush. This brush is in tan. And this is going to be the start of our collar, and this is what's going to cover up a lot of this fly here. I like this minnow head brush. It's not too thick, and it's got a flash built into it. And the really doesn't hold very much water either, which is always nice. Let's go ahead and get this tied in here nice and tight. Let's kind of jump our thread forward a little bit. Get it up here and out of the way. We'll get our Hackle pliers. All we're going to do is just palmer this minnow head brush around maybe 4 times. Get 2 here on the top and 2 right in front of where we tied in the pseudo hair. That should be good. You don't want to add too much of the stuff and it starts to get too bulky. You know, 3-4 wraps is really all you need. If you really have to, I wouldn't go any more than say 5 wraps, or else you'll start to run out of space on your hook shank there, and then your fly will end up too bulky. Just get this tied down nice and tight. Alright, kind of move this away from my thread so I don't cut my thread. Get our bad pair of scissors. Just cut that as close to the hook shank as you can. We're just going to take our bodkin and kind of pick out some of these fibers that we may have trapped down in there. Just kind of pick them out and get them to lay back for us. Kind of move them back on her. And just kind of wrap back until you can't wrap back anymore against that base where we tied the pseudo hair in. That should be good right there. Next thing we're going to do is get our saddle hackle feathers. These ones are tan grizzly. So I already picked out a feather that I liked. All we're going to do is just Tie this in right in front of the minnow hairbrush, right on the top of the hook. The curve of the feather facing the hook. Get that tied in. Cut out our stem. And then just move our thread forward out of the way. Get our hackle pliers again. And we'll just palmer this right in front of the minnow head brush. Just try to stroke the fibers back every time you go around the hook shank. Just try to get those wraps as close to one another as you can. You really don't want to spread them out too much. So just kind of stroke them back. If it spins on you, you can always just kind of move it around. It keeps spinning on me. There we go. Now we'll just finish it with my fingers. As I said, just keep kind of stroking the fibers back. Try to use up as much of the feather as you can. Like I said, you're going to wrap back on this, so don't worry about using up too much space on the hook shank here. So, that looks pretty good right there. Cut out our extra feather. Let's just kind of clean this body up real quick. Wrap forward, then we'll wrap back. And we'll just wrap back on our feathers here. That should be good. So you can see now the feathers are all kind of moving back on themselves. So now we're going to tie the body. This is just going to be a toad style body that we're going to make with Congo hair. I like the Congo hair. It's basically the same stuff as EP fiber, just cost about 1/4 of the price. So if you're making things like toad bodies, I mean, you really can't beat it. I think they sell this stuff for, I want to say, like $2 a pack. The color that we're using here is their Arctic Blue, which is going to give us a nice kind of blue crab color. So we're just going to go ahead and we're going to cut the piece that we just cut off the hank there into 4s. So all you have to do is just cut it in half and then cut each of those halves in half. And that should give you enough to cover this section here. So we're going to tie these right in behind where we tied our feather. Going to come over without catching any of the feather and just give it 5 wraps. Going one way. Going to fold that side back. And then you want to give it 5 wraps going the other way. So make a nice little X. And just a wrap or 2 in front. So you can see, made a little X, and now that's it in there. And we're just going to take our clothespin, and we're going to hold that back. We got another section of our Congo hair. Again, same thing. 5 going one way. Kind of move that side going back. And 5 going this other way. And we're just going to repeat the same process going forward all the way to the eyes with our little X wraps here. There are other methods for tying in this Congo hair, or EP fiber, whatever you choose to use, but I find this method to be pretty easy. If you get a couple longer pieces like this that are kind of getting in your way, always just come in and cut them out. So we'll get this final one tied in here on the front. Again, 5 going one way and 5 going the other way. If you run out of room in the front, you can just kind of jump the eyes real quick and then come back over and lash down, and then you'll be able to come over the eyes real easily, or over this last wrap real easily. And jump, move our thread forward. Perfect. So now we're going to go ahead and trim the body. Just going to move everything, kind of stack it up. Cut it right on about a 45-degree angle. I don't want to make this body too wide, or else it'll affect the sink rate and how the body helps the fly flip over. So just try to get them as even as possible. If one side ends up being a little longer than the other side, it's no big deal. Alright, the last thing we're going to do is put a weed guard on here. Go ahead, get a little bit of Mason hard mono. This is 30 pound. I'm not a real big fan of putting super heavy weed guards on, but 30 pounds seems to work most of the time. All we're going to do is just put a little bit in our pliers, mash it down, and then just kind of bend the hard mono up. So all it does is makes a little mash down tie-in point right there on the mono for us. We can tie that right in without it rolling around the hook shank on us. Now what we're going to do is just kind of fold the mono up and bring some wraps in right behind it. And on each wrap you just want to kind of pull forward a little bit, and that'll help the mono kind of stand straight up, kind of push it forward some. Then you can just come back in and get some straight up and down wraps behind it. Should be good. And you just want to make it just longer than the tip of the hook. Come in, whip finish right here in the front. Kind of make it look nice and neat. Perfect. And the last thing is we're going to take our Loon thin, and we're just going to get a little bit of Loon thin right around the thread wraps. Get a little bit over the eyes, a little bit on this back side of thread here, so we can get it really nice and durable. Give it a couple spins just to even out. Go ahead and hit it with our light. Durability wise, this fly should last you pretty much 40-50 fish, no problem. Especially if you're just fishing for something like redfish. I mean, this fly should last you all day fishing. That's the Kwan. You can tie this pattern in number 2. You can go down, tie it a little smaller. Say tie it in something like a number 4 for maybe some larger bonefish. You can even tie it bigger, you know, if you want to go after some big Louisiana reds. So, if you like this video, like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. We can use more subscribers always, so tell your friends, and look at our Instagram page this week. We're going to be doing another giveaway this week, so keep you posted. Thanks for watching. Bye.